The bell above the door chimed with a tired jingle as Anna slid another pot of coffee onto the counter. It was 6:45 a.m., the hour when the regulars shuffled in like clockwork. Old Mr. Harkins sat in his corner seat by the window. Kane leaned against the booth, already muttering about the weather to anyone who would listen. The scent of bacon grease and burnt toast hung thick in the air, as it always did in the Bluebird Diner, a place that hadn't changed in 30 years. Anna tucked a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear and forced a smile. 19 years old, barely 2 months into the job, she was still learning which regulars liked their eggs runny and which would send them back if the yolk broke. She worked hard, never complained, and tried to stay invisible when her manager's sharp eyes swept the room. Her boss, Mr. Dwyer, was a thick-set man with a mustache as sour as his temper. He believed in keeping order, which meant the staff did as he said, no questions asked. Anna had already seen one of the older waitresses break down in the bathroom after he'd dressed her down for serving pie crooked on a plate. Anna learned to move carefully, to smile at customers even when her feet ached, and to keep her head down when Dwyer barked. The morning moved the same way it always did. Coffee poured, plates clattered, voices rose and fell. Until just after 8, the sound began. It started as a low hum in the distance, almost like a storm rolling over the hills. The hum grew into a thunder, deep and bone-shaking, until it rattled the windows in their frames. Forks paused midair, conversations cut short. Every head in the diner turned toward the street. Then they appeared. Motorcycles. A line of them shining chrome under the weak morning sun, engines snarling like wild beasts. A dozen at least, maybe more, rolled down Main Street and slowed as they reached the Bluebird. One by one, they pulled into the parking lot. Their bikes angled like an army formation. The silence inside was suffocating. Anna's breath caught in her throat. She'd never seen so many bikers in one place. Thick leather jackets, patched vests, gloves cut at the knuckles, boots heavy with road dust. They swung off their bikes with the easy menace of men who belonged to no one but themselves. Their laughter carried low and rough as they adjusted helmets and stretched like they owned the town. Through the glass, Anna caught glimpses of tattoos curling up arms and across throats. Skulls, snakes, fire. She noticed scars, too. On faces, hands, one man with a jagged line running from temple to jaw. They weren't smiling, but they weren't frowning either. Just unreadable. Mr. Dwyer stiffened behind the counter, jaw tightening. "Oh, hell no," he muttered. "Not in here." The bell above the door jingled again as the first of the bikers stepped inside. His boots were heavy, leaving faint mud prints on the tile. The air seemed to bend around him. The others followed, filling the diner with leather and steel and the smell of gasoline. They spoke quietly to each other, nodding toward a booth in the back. Every customer stared. Anna swallowed hard, heart pounding. She'd heard stories, everyone had. Fights, trouble, the kind of people you didn't look at too long. But now they were here, sliding into vinyl booths like any other customer. Mr. Dwyer wasted no time. He stormed toward the counter and snapped his fingers at Anna. "Don't even think about it," he hissed under his breath. "We don't serve them." Anna blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, leave them alone. Pretend we're full. Tell them we're out of something, I don't care. Last thing I need is those animals scaring off my paying customers." His voice was sharp, dripping with disdain. "But they're sitting down." Anna's voice shook. "Shouldn't we—" "Don't argue." His eyes narrowed. "Do not serve them. If they want food, they can ride somewhere else." Anna glanced at the bikers again. One of them caught her eye. A man with gray streaks in his beard and a calm expression. He wasn't sneering or glaring. He just looked tired, hungry maybe. Her hands clenched around her notepad. She thought of her father, who'd worked factory shifts until his back gave out. She thought of the way her mom always said, "Respect is free. You don't pick who deserves it." She took a step toward the table. Behind her, Mr. Dwyer's voice rose. "Anna, I said no!" But she kept walking. The bikers went quiet as she approached, watching her every move. She forced her voice to stay steady. "Good morning." "Coffee to start?" For a moment, silence stretched thin as glass. Then the gray-bearded biker chuckled softly like he'd been holding his breath. "Coffee sounds real good, sweetheart." Relief surged through Anna. She scribbled quickly. "Black cream. Sugar?" The man beside him grinned, missing a tooth. "All of it." The table erupted in laughter, not cruel but warm, surprised. The tension cracked like ice. Soon they were ordering stacks of pancakes, bacon, eggs over easy. biscuits smothered in gravy. Their voices filled the room deep and booming, but their smiles were genuine. Anna moved fast, refilling cups, balancing plates, cracking jokes when she dared. The more she treated them like ordinary men, the more ordinary they became. They thanked her, tipped generously with each refill, and one even complimented the pie. Though it was yesterday's leftovers, not everyone shared the change of mood. Customers whispered, glaring. One family paid their check early and hustled out, shooting Anna a look of disgust. Mr. Dwyer paced behind the counter, arms crossed, face red as a beet. When the bikers finally stood to leave, they stacked their plates neatly, dropped bills thick with 20s on the table, and gave Anna nods of gratitude. The gray-bearded man lingered a second longer. "You're braver than most," he said softly. "Thank you." Then he was gone, the roar of engines fading back down the street. The diner was silent again. Anna gathered the money. They'd left far more than the check required. She placed it on the counter, trembling slightly. Mr. Dwyer snatched it up, counted, and shoved it into the register. "Office," he barked. Her stomach dropped. She followed him to the back, where the smell of grease and onions gave way to stale paperwork and cold fluorescent light. Mr. Dwyer slammed the door behind them. His mustache bristled as he leaned close. "What part of don't serve them did you not understand? I couldn't just— You disobeyed me. In front of customers. You embarrassed me." His face twisted. "You're done here. Pick up your things. Don't come back." The words hit harder than a slap. Anna's throat burned, but she held her tears until she'd walked out the door, apron balled in her fist. The diner windows reflected her pale face as she passed. She didn't look back. That night, in the silence of her tiny apartment, Anna sat at the kitchen table staring at the crumpled final paycheck in her hands. Fired for kindness, for doing what felt right. She had no idea that by the next sunrise the entire town would be talking about her name. Anna didn't sleep much that night. She lay awake in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing in like a weight. The clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2. Her mind replayed the day over and over. The roar of the motorcycles, the warmth in the bikers' laughter, the anger in Mr. Dwyer's voice when he fired her. She tried to imagine what she would do next. Jobs were scarce in their small town, especially for someone her age without much experience. Rent was due in less than 2 weeks. She had already stretched every paycheck as far as it could go. Now, with no income, the math didn't add up. When dawn crept pale and gray through her curtains, Anna rose with heavy limbs. She decided to take a walk to clear her head. The town was always quiet that early, Main Street almost deserted. But as she turned the corner, her steps slowed. At first, she thought she was dreaming. The street in front of the Bluebird Diner was full, not with cars, but with motorcycles. Dozens of them lined up in 2 perfect rows, chrome glinting in the morning light. Their engines were off, but the sight of them was thunderous all on its own. And then she saw the men. The same bikers from yesterday, only now there were twice as many. They weren't sprawled inside eating pancakes this time. They stood shoulder to shoulder outside the diner, leather jackets zipped, boots planted firmly on the cracked pavement. Each one held a sign, hand-painted on cardboard or scraps of wood. "Bring back Anna. Respect is for everyone. No Anna, no customers." Anna froze on the sidewalk, heart hammering. People had already gathered, neighbors, townsfolk, early risers lured by the spectacle. Some clutched grocery bags, others sipped coffee from paper cups, staring with wide eyes. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "What's all this about?" "They're protesting." "For her?" "I've never seen anything like it." The diner's neon sign buzzed faintly above the door, but inside, the stools at the counter were empty. The booths, usually filled with truckers and farmers by this hour, sat abandoned. Everyone had stopped outside, waiting. Mr. Dwyer appeared in the doorway, his face pale with fury. "What the hell is this?" he shouted, voice cracking. "You people got nothing better to do?" The gray-bearded biker, Anna remembered him well, stepped forward. His presence was calm but commanding, like a man used to being listened to. "We came for breakfast," he said evenly. "But we're not going in until you bring back the girl you fired." She broke the rules. Dwyer spat. "She disobeyed me." "She showed respect," the biker countered. His eyes narrowed. "Something you might want to learn a little about." Gasps rippled through the watching crowd. Someone clapped softly, then stopped when Dwyer's glare swept over them. Anna wanted to disappear. She couldn't believe this was happening for her. She hadn't asked for it. She hadn't expected anything except maybe to search the classifieds for another dead-end job. Yet here they were, men society whispered about, standing up for her in broad daylight. More bikes rumbled into town, the latecomers joining the line without a word. By now there were at least 50. Their signs bobbed above their heads, painted in thick black strokes, slogans fierce and simple. Dwyer's face darkened. "You're scaring off my customers." The gray-bearded man laughed, low and steady. "Take a look, pal. You got no customers," and he was right. Not a single person crossed the diner's threshold. Families stood outside instead. Children tugging at their parents' sleeves, asking questions. Old Mr. Harkins, cane in hand, actually grinned for the first time in years. The diner, once the center of Main Street life, was now the stage for something bigger than pancakes and coffee. Anna felt her throat tighten. She wanted to run forward to tell them to stop, that it wasn't worth the trouble, but as she opened her mouth, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Bring her back." It was a woman from the bakery across the street. Others echoed it. "Bring her back." Then louder, "Bring her back." The chant rolled over the street, swelling with each repetition. The bikers joined in, their voices booming like thunder. "Bring her back. Bring her back." Dwyer's jaw worked furiously. He shouted something no one could hear over the chant, then slammed the door behind him. The neon sign flickered out. The crowd only grew. By mid-morning, the diner's parking lot was packed with onlookers. Local reporters showed up, cameras flashing, scribbling notes. Someone live-streamed the protest, and Anna overheard a teenager whisper that people were already sharing it online. Finally, around noon, the door creaked open again. Mr. Dwyer stood there, red-faced and sweating. His mustache twitched nervously as he scanned the sea of eyes on him. "Fine," he bellowed. His voice cracked under the weight of so many stares. "She can come back. She's rehired," the crowd erupted. Cheers shook the street, the chant transforming into a victory cry. The bikers lifted their signs high, some pumping fists in the air. Anna's breath caught. Was this real? She stepped forward, trembling slightly as dozens of faces turned toward her. Someone pushed her gently from behind, an old woman she barely knew, smiling kindly. "Go on, sweetheart. It's your moment." Anna walked toward the diner, her shoes scuffing the pavement. The bikers parted for her like a river splitting, nodding as she passed. When she reached the doorway, Mr. Dwyer avoided her gaze, his lips pressed into a thin line. "You're back," he muttered. But she wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the crowd. Neighbors, strangers, bikers, children, all cheering, clapping, celebrating her return. For the first time since she'd put on the bluebird apron, Anna didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. She stepped inside the diner and the place roared with applause from outside. The booths filled again in minutes, customers eager not just for food but to support the girl who had stood up for kindness. As Anna tied her apron strings, the gray-bearded biker caught her eye through the window. He raised his coffee cup in a silent salute. She smiled, lifting her pot of coffee in return. And in that moment, Anna realized something profound. She had been fired for serving people society told her not to. But in choosing compassion over fear, she hadn't just kept her dignity. She had gained something much bigger: respect, loyalty, and the quiet power to change an entire town's heart.